Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back because I'm going to give you guys a review of Uncharted. It is the very first feature-length film that is based off of a very popular video game series by PlayStation, and it stars Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, and many more. It is directed by Ruben Fleischer, who directed Zombieland, Venom, and many more. And before we get started, don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below. So don't forget to do that while you're at it. And don't forget to go subscribe to my channel if you want to stay tuned for upcoming videos I will be putting out for the rest of the year. And with that said, let's get started. Uncharted follows Nathan Drake, played by Tom Holland, who is recruited by Sully, played by Mark Wahlberg, and they're on an adventure to go find a 500-year-old lost fortune amassed by an explorer, and they go all around the globe trying to get to this treasure before anybody else can get their hands on it. For context, I have never played any of the games, so I am not going to be the kind of reviewer who's going to judge it based off of how accurate is it to the game, whether they got all the personality traits right, or the characterizations. I'm not going to do any of that because I've never played the game, so I don't have a connection to it. And all I can say is, if you are a fan of the games, you probably are not going to be too impressed by this movie, considering who they cast as these characters. But if you have no connection to the franchise like me, you're probably going to have a fun time with it. And I came into this movie hoping to just have a good time. I really love the action-adventure treasure genre because I love movies like Indiana Jones. So this movie has that going for me. And I had a fun time. It's a fun movie. To kick off the positives, I thought that it is a very well-paced movie. It's only an hour and 56 minutes, and if you love action-adventure movies where the characters got to go search for treasure, especially Indiana Jones or Tomb Raider or any of that stuff, this movie has that. It is very well-paced. From the moment the movie begins all the way to the credits rolling, I never once felt like I was being bored out of my mind. It felt like it was very well-paced, and I love when a good adventure movie feels well-paced so that I feel like I'm in the runtime. I'm interested to see what happens rather than I'm wondering when is the movie going to point B and why are we taking so long to get there. So the pacing here is really great, especially when they go from sequence to sequence to sequence, from going from point A to find a treasure to point B all the way to point C. It's a really well-paced movie, and that I really enjoyed. The next thing I really like is the dynamic between Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. They have a really nice banter with one another that felt fun to watch. Just seeing these two play at it with one another, with how Nathan, this is his first adventure in this world, and how Sully, he looks like he's doing this for a while, and he offers him like help to go find this treasure. And just seeing them go through all these places and meet all these people as they try to find this treasure, I think was really fun. They've had some funny moments here and there with trusting one another, or make sure with your skills you do this. They got some really funny moments here and there that I did really enjoy. This is probably one of the finer Mark Wahlberg performances, and a lot of that is because he does have great chemistry with Tom Holland, and Tom Holland is a very likable, charismatic, and very good actor that I think he truly shines on screen. So whether maybe you might get the idea that he's playing Spider-Man just without the suit and the abilities, but I think it worked here for what he has to work with. He's very fun to watch, and he's just really nice to see on screen. I love his presence. Antonio Banderas isn't in the movie as much, but he was good with what he had to work with. And Sophia Ali plays Chloe, and I think she was good too. She also has a nice dynamic with Tom as Nathan Drake, where they play off of one another with trying to help go to the next location, go through all the tricks, like what do they need to go to this next location, or just any moments where they get stuck in some trouble. And I think they had some really fun moments here and there. And Tati Gabrielle plays a villain named Joe. And I don't know if this is a character from the games, but I think that she was a good villain as well, alongside Antonio Banderas, where all of them want to find this treasure, so they all are trying to do whatever it takes to get there. And just like with action-adventure movies, there's always the tropes of some people are going to backstab one another, and it feels like that happens a lot. The only character to really have a consistent motivation or can be consistent throughout is basically Tom Holland's Nathan Drake, because everyone throughout the movie at some point is going to backstab one another. But that is the action adventure genre, because when you go find treasure that involves like gold or it's worth so much money, you're gonna have people doing the just all those backstabbing here and there with other people so that they can get what they want. So they do that a lot. And I think it's just, they were good. I think they were fun to watch. So maybe they're not the best ideal casting of the characters in the likes for those who love the Uncharted game series. But for me, I didn't mind it because I never played the games. So I thought they were fun to watch. There are some cool action sequences here and there, especially one that was heavily marketed in the trailer where you see Tom, he's up in the air and he's stuck on all of those just things that's flying up in the air. He's all the way up there and he's trying to get back onto the plane. That is a sequence, I think, from Uncharted 3, if I heard. And so that is one of the bigger sequences to be had in this movie. I was surprised with how they used it in this movie. I think it actually worked really well, just with the context and the state that they're all in with what was happening on the plane, and just what's happening with Nathan Drake trying to get back on the plane after he wakes up in the air. And so there's some fun, that's a fun sequence. And there are just other action sequences I think are also just really cool too, especially earlier on in the movie when they try to get the keys, and later on in the movie when stuff happens, which I won't spoil. But yeah, there's some cool action sequences to be had here. So, and again, because I love the action-adventure genre, the action here is pretty cool to watch. There is a sense of fun to be had with this movie. It is certainly an entertaining movie. It's not the most original movie to be coming out of the genre. It does do a lot of things and a lot of the tropes that you expect for a movie of this genre, but it's fun to watch because the characters portrayed by, of course, the actors. The actors are pretty likable here with what they had to work with. That you have fun just watching them go on this adventure and just see all the twists and turns that happen to them throughout this movie. And with all the humorous moments and just seeing the characters try to go search for treasure, and which I love those kind of movies. So, of course, I was going to have fun there, and I did. There's a sense of fun to be had. So I think this is definitely something where you love the genre, you like the cast members, and you love adventurous kind of movies, then you will most certainly find fun here. And then that brings me to my issues. Again, like I mentioned before, it's not the most original action-adventure movie. It feels like if you've seen stuff like Indiana Jones or any of the Tomb Raider movies, which is also based off of a game series, or just The Goonies, you know the tropes and you know how certain moments are going to pan out. So I never came into Uncharted surprised by a lot of the things they do, because it's like I can tell someone's going to backstab somebody, something bad's going to happen, this is going to happen, a plot twist will happen with this character in 3, 2, 1. So it doesn't do a lot of things that are new. It doesn't do anything that's inventive or mind-blowing for the series, but it's not entirely a bad thing because it is just a standard action-adventure movie that I had a fun time with. It's just, I think it's not the most original thing to come out of the genre, even though there are blueprints found throughout the movie that could have led to like an even better version of the movie. Another problem I had too is I didn't feel much of a sense of danger. I had the notion throughout the movie that they're going to end up, this will happen with these characters. And so I didn't feel throughout the movie that, oh, someone was in danger of dying or somebody's going to bite the dust or they're not going to make it in time. It feels like it's not as risky of a movie. It certainly isn't the most tension-filled movie in the genre, but that's also a thing too, because there are moments where there could have been a lot of tension to be found here, but because if you know the genre, or you've seen plenty of movies in the adventure action world, this movie doesn't do a lot of things that make you feel like you're suspensed or you're scared that something bad is going to happen to our characters and that they probably won't get the treasure. So it doesn't have as much tension, which stinks, because There are some great moments throughout the movie that could have had a lot of tension. I could have felt the stakes. There just weren't that many. It felt a lot light in terms of that. Also, at times, there can be a lot of moments that are pretty CGI heavy, and you can tell that it looks very CGI. You can tell that they did a lot of this stuff in front of like a green screen or something. It makes sense. It's not too big of a problem as, say, just the tension or originality stuff. But there are some moments where you might look at this with an eagle eye and be like, that was CG. They might use it a lot in certain sequences, but there is that too in terms of problem, because there's some things that could have been practical, and then they went the CG route, which not too much CG. It's not too big of a problem, but I feel like if you focus more on the fact that a lot of this is CG, then it's probably going to bug you. Basically, if you're somebody who has never played the games before, you have no connection to the franchise in any shape or form, or you just love the cast, you're going to have something to enjoy with the Uncharted movie. It most certainly has some fun moments. It's a fun movie, and it was a fun experience at the theater. But if you're someone who's like a diehard Uncharted fan, you love these characters to death, you grew up on it, and you want to see like the most perfect Uncharted movie ever, your odds are you're probably not going to find it here. It's most certainly not as bad as some people are making it out to be. It most certainly isn't like the worst video game adaptation ever. It's probably one of the more better middle of the road video game adaptations. But if you're someone who loves the games, this movie might be indifferent. You might be indifferent with this movie, because I will say it doesn't follow an exact story of one of the 4 games. It takes elements apparently from all 4 games, tries to mash them into one movie. Some of the characters, especially villains, are more original for this movie, despite some characteristics, I think, from what I've heard. So if you're into the games, you're going to come into this movie with expectations that maybe it's going to be met, maybe it won't. But if you're going to come in just hoping to have a fun time watching a action-adventure flick with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg searching for treasure, then you're most certainly going to find it here. In conclusion, Uncharted is a movie that I had a fun time with. It had some solid performances, great dynamic between our 2 lead characters, and some fun set pieces with a really great pacing. That is a very fun movie with some great adventure to be found here. So in the end, I am going to give Uncharted a B. And if you are a fan of the genre, then I definitely recommend you go check this movie out. Also, this movie falls prey to the trap where trailers spoil something from the ending, and I really need them to just stop doing that. I will say, watching this movie does make me want to start the games when I have the time to, because they're very popular. I've heard fantastic things about it, and this movie most definitely made me interested in playing all 4 of the games because I had a fun time with it. It's not the most original movie in the genre. It's not my favorite action-adventure movie, but it's a fun time. If you just want to go to the theater to watch something to just have fun with, just to escape the world, then this movie can most definitely do that for you, depending on what your relationship with the Uncharted franchise is. And overall, those are my thoughts on the Uncharted movie. What did you think of this movie? I'd love to hear it down below in the comment section. Did you enjoy it? Are you not a fan of it? And just tell me, what's your connection with the series? I'd love to know that down below in the comment section. And thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And stay tuned for more.
Oh, crap!